Pendulum is one of the best decks of the format. There really shouldn't be a debate about that. In this video, I'm not only going to show you what the deck can do in the current format, I'll also be providing some test hands to back it up. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then make sure you destroy that subscribe button. But also, be sure to hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. So without further ado, I present you a competitive Endymion Pendulum deck profile for this format. Okay guys, so I will be blazing through this deck explaining why I play the cards and not necessarily what they do, but if you guys want to know the specific list as well as what they do, I have a link down below in the description that will take you to the profile, as well as clickable links so you can see exactly what the cards do. Also, if you guys want to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or have a deck you would like to discuss, I'm not available for direct contact, but my Discord is an excellent place to discuss Yu-Gi-Oh! With like-minded, strong individuals. But now that that is all out of the way, let's start off with the deck profile. I run 2 copies of Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic. Now, this was actually a late cut. I was running 3 copies until I realized I don't play Desires. More about that a little later, but this card is just amazing, allowing you to disrupt your entire board, and it can't be stopped by the conventional hand traps. Like, your opponent can't impermanence this, they can't effect Veiler, they can't stop him from summoning himself and then destroying all of your opponent's cards. It is an amazing card and an excellent extender. 3 copies of Servant of Endymion. The biggest reason anytime you build a Pendulum deck, you should always look to incorporating Mythical Beast King Jackal if you know you're going to summon more than 5 times, because you don't want to be Nibiru. And that's actually how this deck started to be centered around, is that I wanted to be able to summon Nibiru as fast as possible, meaning that I needed to put spell counters on Servant of Endymion, which led me to playing an Endymion deck. 2 copies of Reflection Endymion and 2 copies of Magister. Now, you normally don't see these in Pendulum builds, and I think that it is incorrect not to play at least 1 in 1. The first thing is that Reflection is just insane. It gets rid of cards like, your opponent's Thunder Dragon Colossus or Dengirsu, but also if you do play set rotation, hypothetically, you can give yourself the Endymion, give your opponent a Secret Village of Spellcasters or a, Necro Valley, summon the Reflection, bounce their opponent's cards to your hand, flip your Endymion, go through your things, and at your end sequence, you have a floodgate to play with. The Magister of Endymion is insane as well. It's an extender that special summons monsters to your side of the field for link plays, but also its monster effect is not to be underestimated, as you can special summon Reflection from your deck to your side of the field for an additional disruption or another Jackal King. Next would be 3 copies of Magical Abductor. This card is the reason why I cut so many cards out of the deck. I wanted to be able to take advantage of me putting spell cards on my Servant of Endymion, and that means I have to play a ton of spells. Well, the best way to take advantage is Magical Abductor, searching free pendulums, and the fact that this card is not a once per turn, it is a once per turn, but the fact that this card, it's not a hard once per turn, my apologies, it's just it's bewildering. This card is just phenomenal. Next is 2 copies of Mythical Beast Jackal King. Again, I don't run Pot of Desires, so I can actually play less copies of cards that will be bricks in my hand and more copies of important Pendulum cards. So Mythical Beast Jackal King is amazing for stopping your opponent, but playing 3 and opening 2 gives you a card that you just can't use inside of your hand. 2 copies of Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. I hate this card, but it's just so necessary for Pendulums. It's a spell card and it's a free summon. The card that I actually dropped, another card that I dropped for a Curtain Raiser, I only run 2 copies of Dark Worm. Again, I don't run Pot of Desire, so I don't run the risk of getting rid of this card. And more often than not, it's your normal summon if you can't send it to the graveyard. It is insanely good and extremely searchable. 1 copy of Supreme King Gate 0 for the target for Dark Worm. And then we move towards our Dragon Engine. I do run the Amorphage Sloth. Now, Sloth is I'm 50-50 with Sloth, because it does prevent the opponent from special summoning from the extra deck, but then at the same time it prevents you from special summoning, and the alternative would be Aether. So I'm not 100% sure which one I want to play, because Aether is a disruption but Sloth is a floodgate. We do run Tempest and Destrudel Noodle. These 2 cards are stupid good, I'll show you guys in the the test hands. And then 3 copies of Chronograph Sorcerer for your extenders and 1 copy of Time Gazer Magician. That's gonna sum up all of the monsters in the deck, a couple of cards that I want to note is Mythical Beast, Master Cerberus, and all the Mythical Beast monsters. I really wanted to play these cards, but the problem with Mythical Beast is that they need to be the only card in your pin scale, and you know, Servant of Endymion wants to fight for your pin scale, so it just becomes, it's just no. The thing that I do like about Cerberus is that he has an amazing monster effect. It's really good, so I would consider still playing one copy of the card because it does search Jackal, I guess. But onto the spells, 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery, that's pretty standard. 3 copies of our super secret spicy tech Mythical Bestiary. So again, I don't run Pot of Desires in this deck, so opening 2 of these cards does suck. And on top of that, I'll always have 3 inside of the deck since I'm not going to Desires, a few of them. The thing about this card is that I feel it's like Pot of Desires. I feel like it's like your Spell Power Mastery is that you want to open this card. Being able to activate this card instantly gives you 3 counters on one of your cards that require counters, whether it's your Abductor, your Servant, your Magister. Any of those guys immediately get 3 counters, and then on top of that, if this card milled Darkworm, boy, you're gonna win. It's a blowout. Next, 3 copies of Allure of Darkness to get counters, 3 copies of Into the Void to get free counters, 1 copy of Dragon's Ravine for the combo, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, Dragon Shrine, and Upstart Goblin. That is it for the main board. Some of the other spell cards that I would like to talk to you guys about. Let's have that discussion about Pot of Desires. I think that Pot of Desires is one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! The problem with Pot of Desires is that I don't want to banish certain cards in this deck. Like, some cards in this deck are just absolutely necessary to be able to play, and those 2 cards just aren't worth it. And then there's always the odds of drawing multiple Pot of Desires. Through my test hands and games, I actually drew multiple copies, and it prompted me to actually try without Desires, and I love the results. Necro Valley, Terraforming, Secret Village, Set Rotation, and Endymion. They're all cards that I strongly suggest that if you don't have in your main board, you should have in your sideboard. Mainly because Secret Village and Necro Valley, this deck is completely unhindered by, and it just ruins your opponent in certain matchups. Like Solomon Great Orcas get the Necro Valley, Sky Strikers get the Secret Village, and you pretty much bag a W. And then these cards just add spell counters to your cards. That is it for the main board. For the extra deck, now the extra deck can go quite, excuse me, a few different ways. Boral Sword, Apollosa, Saryuja. These cards aren't even mandatory. I guess if you guys were to play one, a link for the Saryuja is mandatory, but these cards are not mandatory. My super secret hidden tech is Draco Masters of Tinye because it has 3 link arrows pointing down, so you can special summon 3 monsters from your Pendulum Zone. Triple B. For the Link 2s, Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. Lambda can be a secret tech because it is a generic, but you can actually recycle this card. Romulus is amazing. Again, we'll show you guys in the test hands. Heretic Seal, Nightmare Phoenix, Guard Dragon LP, and Pisty. Cyber's Quantum Dragon is amazing, but again, we'll talk about that later. Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon and Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. This is actually really summonable inside of 2019 Pendulum. So a couple of cards that I want to talk about is Psyframe Lord Zeta. This card can actually recycle your card and is a disruption. It can recycle your your Psyframe Lord Lambda. Daybreaker, the Shiny Magical Warrior. This card puts spell counters on cards. Nightmare Unicorn and F8 Don Dragster. Those are all cards that you guys should consider, as well as a host of other extra deck cards. But now that we are done with the deck profile, I can show you guys how awesome this deck is. Okay guys, so moving on to the test hands. I'm only gonna show you guys one test hand, mainly because once you realize the combo, you not only figure out the deck, but the deck can consistently do this combo. Now, obviously there are bricks to this particular, to this deck, and that just happens, it comes with the territory of being able to play Pendulum. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with our first test hand. We're going to get a, oh wow, this is already amazing. And this pretty much guarantees that our combo will be like just spectacular. It almost doesn't matter the next 2 cards after this, but we're gonna get a Spell Power Mastery and a Chronograph Sorcerer in this particular hand sequence. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and first start off by activating the Servant of Endymion. And then I'm gonna go ahead and follow up by scaling the Magical Abductor. We're gonna go ahead and put a counter on our Servant of Endymion. From there, I'm going to go ahead and use Mythical Bestiary. Now, the only thing that would have been better is if I do mill a Spell Power Mastery, but also milling a Darkworm is amazing. So, milling our next 2 cards. What the? No, I swear that is, wow. Like, I'm not, you know what? Just for the sake of it, I'm not even going to, these got to go. Because that is just too much. We're going to go ahead and Allure of Darkness and the chrono. We just, bro, I'm telling you guys, combo would have been just it's just unrealistic. Stuff like that just does not happen. We're just gonna go back, and I'm just gonna use the mythical bestiary targeting the magical abductor. We're gonna go ahead and put 3 spell counters on our magical abductor, and since this was the second spell, you'll get 2. But yeah, go ahead, make sure you guys destroy that subscribe button, because again, if we would have, that is freaking crazy. If we milled these 2 cards and had a mastery in hand, boy, I tell ya. From there, we're gonna actually use our magical abductors effect. That will fetch us the Supreme King Dragon Darkworm. And now I gotta use that spell power mastery, which would be adding 3 spell counters to everything. But we're gonna go ahead and use that spell power mastery. That puts you at 4. And that puts you at 2. To add an Endymion card from our decks to our hand. Now, I always get confused. Like, I wanna add this card, but then at the same time, I always want to add the Magister as well. I'm gonna go ahead and add the Magister this time around. Maybe that is the correct play. But we're gonna go ahead and add the Magister, and our spell counters are already there. So we're gonna go ahead and special summon our Servant of Endymion, as well as the mythical beast Jackal King to our side of the field, putting 1 in 1. I'm still like just completely shocked that we did that. But putting 1 in 1 on both of these cards. And then from there, we're gonna go ahead and normal summon the Supreme King Dragon Darkworm. Darkworm's effect is going to add a Supreme King Gate 0 from our decks to our hand. And us using the normal summon doesn't matter. Also, we can commit the Servant of Endymion because we do have Magical Abductor with 2 counters on it, which means that our Jackal King can always negate. It can remove counters from the Abductor. Both of these monsters for a link summon. Into our Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. Electromite's effect will trigger. And right now, I think I'm gonna go ahead and add, we already have a High Scales Piloro in our hand. Oh, okay, I think I know what I did wrong, but we can always make up for that. Yeah, the thing that I did wrong is that I used Servant of Endymion and the Supreme King Jackal. That's actually, I'm pretty sure we can rewind. So, if I remember correctly, this was right here, and we normal summoned that, so that didn't matter. That had a counter. The next thing I would do is just activate the chronograph, destroy the chronograph, and that would put you to 3. I completely forgot that I have the chronograph sorcerer in my deck, or in my hand. And then we're gonna use these 2 monsters for the summon of our Electromite. So basically, we have to keep our Servant of Endymion. And so now with that, I'm pretty confident I want to add a monster. It does not matter what I add. I mean, I do have these particular cards in my hand, but I'm just gonna go ahead and be safe and add the Endymion. Now, there actually is a lot of play with this deck, as I can summon Magister, and Magister's on summon effect is very, very deadly. Being able to spell summon a monster from my deck to my side of the field and put counters on it. If it's Reflection, I can even bounce them both, which can be extremely powerful. So go ahead and putting another counter on our Abductor. We're gonna bring this to 4. Then I'm gonna destroy the Gate 0 to add the Endymion to my hand. It's gonna give me to draw a card of Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. Doesn't matter which card you draw off of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and follow up by activating my Endymion. That's gonna bring, I don't know what this card is at. I'm pretty sure it's at least gain 5. So it's at 5 itself. And this is at 3? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I just activated Gate 0 and I just activated that. That's at least 5, and I know that's 3. So regardless, we're gonna be able to summon the Endymion to our side of the field, and we still haven't committed our Pendulum summon. Committing to our Pendulum summon, I'm gonna go ahead and special summon the Supreme King Dragon Darkworm. I'm also gonna special summon the Time Gazer Magician, and I feel I can special summon the Magister, which means this could have been a mythical beast Jackal King, but I'm gonna keep that in my hand because I don't really even need it. So we're gonna use the Supreme King Dragon Darkworm for a link into our Guard Dragon LP, our Servant of Endymion, and our Electromite into our Triple B Dragon. LP allows us to special summon a dragon monster from our decks to our side of the field, which is going to be the Strudel Noodle. And we're actually not going to use this card just yet. He comes in handy a little later. I'm using both of these monsters for material. I am going to make Dragoon Knight Romulus. Romulus effect will add from my deck to my hand a Dragon's Ravine. And now activate said Ravine. That's gonna bring you to 7. 1 and 2, and that's gonna bring you to 4. Then the next thing we are going to do, since it's at 7 and 4, Romulus, we're gonna activate the effect of our Dragon's Ravine. I'm gonna send whatever card from my hand to the graveyard to be able to send Tempest from my deck to the graveyard. Tempest effect, I'll be able to banish both the Triple B and the Guard Dragon LP for Tempest. And then these 2 monsters will be used for an Exceed summon into Odd Eyes Absolute. Following up, I'll finish up by using these 2 monsters for a Link summon. Into Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. We'll trigger the effect of Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon to special summon Odd Eyes Vortex. Then we'll go ahead and activate Destrudo in our graveyard. Who said that? That card's pretty awesome. Paying half of our life points target a Time Gazer, and then we'll Synchro Summon. So this Synchro Summon, it could be the Cyberse Quantum Dragon, but keep in mind Heretic Seal does leave. It can also be the Don Dragster or the Psy-Frame Lord Zeta. And then we still have not resolved their things. We have enough spell counters to trigger the effect of Endymion Mighty of Magister. I can go ahead and remove 5 counters from you, so that'll just bring you down to 2. And the rest or 2 counters from you, which allows me to special summon the Endymion to my side of the field. Finishing up, I can bring you up to 4 counters and you up to 3 counters for a next turn play. So this is the breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. I'm either going to have a Psy-Frame Lord Zeta, which allows me to disrupt my opponent, and FA Don Dragster, which doesn't negate spell or trap cards, or a Cyberse Quantum Dragon, which is just heavily underrated. I also have another disruption with my Odd Eyes Vortex, my Mythical Beast Jackal King. This does have a spell counter, so it is a disruption as well. And to make matters even worse, my Heretic Seal can tribute the bounce, activate its effect, and I can special summon a Almorphage Sloth, which prevents the opponent from tossing for the extra deck. If you guys thought that the losing of Agripain was killing Pendulum, no, the deck is still too strong. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, and if you really did, consider joining our Patreon. We have so many awesome rewards. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day, like I am.